welcome back to the 12th Man Podcast. We are going to be talking about all the European drama tonight, including PSG knocking Liverpool out of the Champions League, the Madrid derby controversy where the ball appeared not to have hit Alvarez's second foot, in my opinion, but obviously they found some sort of way that it did. We'll be looking into that. Well, the rule needs changed. Arsenal and Villa cruised through in the end the quarterfinals with some big ties ahead. We'll look at those quarterfinals. And last night, of course, United and Spurs ties were in the balance. Both of them won, and both of them are through, along with Rangers, who overcame Fenerbahce in a penalty shootout. We will be looking ahead to the League Cup final at the weekend. Of course, Liverpool take on Newcastle. We'll be looking at that game and the rest of the weekend's action, including a London derby between Arsenal and Chelsea. Owen, good to have you with us. Friday evening, it's a bank holiday weekend. The sun is out. Everything's looking decent for the weekend. But of course, you'll not be thinking too much about St. Patrick's Day. You'll be thinking about Newcastle on Sunday. So how are you?
I'm grand. Obviously disappointed with the result on Tuesday night, but it was overall, I think we'll get on that, but we didn't deserve to go through anyway. So I can sort of deal with it easier because they deserve to go through. Like, although I did see that their goal should have been disallowed for offside, which was another thing that UEFA needs. There was a few in different games this week with a double touch, and then that apparently was offside. I didn't think it was offside at the time, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was. There was plenty of controversy around. Let's look at these European ties. Oh, like I was pretty sneezer. Apologies. That's not come out there, so that's why my voice went there a wee bit.
You choked up. You're choked up because I'm here. It's all.
Let's look at the biggest story. I think. Well, it definitely was the biggest story. Maybe until that controversy in the shootout, but
yeah,
I mean, this was a tie coming on it. Many says that PSG were probably on form, one of the hottest teams around Europe, if not the hottest. It wasn't the same PSG team that was struggling earlier on in the campaign. They routed Man City after being 2-0 down. They hammered Brest over 2 games, who had beaten Real Madrid earlier this season in the Champions League. And they went into this game, and many people, maybe not Liverpool fans, but I think many people were saying it was going to a 50-50 tie. We always do say, from an English perspective, being English football fans, that we don't really look at the French league as major opposition. But I think in this case, PSG proved that they are pretty strong. And I did say on the podcast, I think it was on Monday, that I fancy PSG won at Anfield, and they did. So Owen, where did it all go wrong for Liverpool in this tie? Because they didn't reach their best levels over the 2 games. I think in the 4 halves of football, the 4 45 minutes, Liverpool can really only say they're the better team in one of them, and that was the second half at Anfield. And if you look at extra time, PSG dominated that as well. So, to be dominated for 40, excluding those 45 minutes, I think PSG dominated the rest of the tie. It was 210 minutes. Why do you think that happened?
It's hard to put your number on, but for me, obviously our midfield has been great, but the midfield they're not. I wouldn't say they're more energetic, but they're better on the ball than our midfielders. Like they had not Ruben Neves, sorry, João Neves. Who was the other one?
Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz.
So they're great ball playing players. As much as McAllister and McGravenberch and Szoboszlai are great as well, but they're a different level in terms of keeping the ball, because if you think about it, they all come from countries, Portugal, Spain, and whatever, who like to keep the ball in possession, who like to control midfield. But the overall, I think our attack let us down in both games, because you can't really blame the defense, because the keeper played off a masterclass in the first leg.
Do you think there was, let's say, a fear factor? But do you think Liverpool, Slot's been praised for adapting? Do you feel that he adapted too much to PSG? He let them dominate the ball for large periods of both games, and they created a lot of chances on those 2 games. I think it was Jamie Redknapp says on Sky on Sunday that he was criticising Spurs for playing out of the back. He says Liverpool didn't do that for the first 30 minutes in Paris. But whilst that I can kind of understand what he's saying against the Spurs, you think Liverpool lost their identity a wee bit in this tie? They give PSG too much respect.
I mean, probably based on how they're playing uh, in their division and how, as we spoke about, they're probably on form, the best team in Europe at the minute. Slot probably thought, right, we have to give them the respect, but I just think there's no excuses for me. Like PSG over the two halves, and the two halves of extra time deserve to go through. So I think we just have to lick our wounds and go again on Sunday. But I don't know if we lost our identity, but I do think we showed them respect, but too much respect. Sorry, but as I say, I think our attack let us down because if you look at it, obviously Salah's unbelievable, but Nuno Mendes played a blinder against him in the two games. I think in the second leg he got past him once, but other than Salah, like who's subsidising Salah? Like we have Nunez who's hitting us, Jota's looks past it.
I think that
So
was up bar the first 10 minutes of that second game. I don't think Salah featured in this tie at all. Really, he had a couple of
mm,
chances in the early part of the second game. He didn't really do anything. Yeah, he was actually brought off. He was that poor, wasn't he? He's passing, everything was letting him down. Harvey
yeah,
Elliott, of course, come on and they stole the show on that first kiss. Nunez did make a bit of an impact in the first game, but I have to say he was very, very poor. And this isn't even the penalty miss in general play. He was quite poor when he come on. Um, you know, with Nunez, is he just too inconsistent? I mean, you're always going to get this. Now, do you think he might have the one odd good game, but 9 times out of 10 he's going to let you down?
aye, and you know me. Since he signed, I've been one of his biggest defenders, but you get to the point where you can't defend it anymore. And I would be I would be really, really shocked if we're sitting here starting next season and he's still a Liverpool player.
And I think this tie, he's been so reliable for Liverpool when he's been fit, but I think Jota's slowing down a bit. He doesn't seem to be
Yeah.
moving the way he used to be. Maybe the injuries have caught up. He is getting older as well. Do you feel that
What is it?
sort of strength of Jota's has gone a bit?
He's 20. He's 29 now. Is he 28?
I think them injuries have taken its toll, but I actually think he looks older and plays like he's older.
He does that. And even obviously, if he gets in front of goal, he'll bag it. But he doesn't seem to get in. He doesn't seem to get in them positions anymore, and he doesn't seem to.
And I think the Diaz one is the most frustrating one because there is a ability there. We've seen it more consistently than we've seen it from Nunez.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, he just can't seem to get on a massive run where he's brilliant for 4, 5, 6 months. He's brilliant for 4 or 5 games, then goes missing for 5 or 6, and I think that's the issue. And I mean, in a massive opportunity to shoot with his left foot in that second half, and he didn't. He tried to come back on his right foot, and I just don't think for where Liverpool are at the moment, they need a bit more. Whilst they have got options up there, I think there is a massive, and we've seen it in this tie, a massive reliance on Salah and these big games.
The mad thing is taking the contract situation out of it. I don't know who Liverpool's front attack is going to be next season because I don't think Nunes will be there. I don't think Jota will be there. I don't think Diaz will be there. I think Gakpo's the only one guaranteed to be there. And obviously,
Chiesa hasn't really featured at all.
That's a strange one. That I don't. Why sign him if you're not going to use him? Obviously, that wasn't the manager's decision. Obviously, that was a board decision because Slot doesn't seem to fancy him at all.
Yeah, and he's had a lot of injury problems this season as well. Of course, Liverpool signed him knowing this was a possibility. And I did say at the time, there's the reason why things are half their price or 3 times less than their price. The fact that Liverpool picked them up for €10 million told you everything.
That's what I say. Like it's not a big deal if we sell them on for what 5-6 million. Like that's nothing to a club like Liverpool. But it's just it's we've seen in the past 24 hours that journalists are coming out and saying we really appreciate Isak and we'll be there if we've heard that every single summer, and Liverpool just need to go out, identify someone and buy them. We know who we're going for at left back, which is a plus, but there'll be more going on for him. But how we've let ourselves get into this situation, like even not even these contracts. If we go into next season, Canate has a year left. Like how have we let ourselves get into this?
Do you think this tie showed that the squad just probably isn't good enough to compete on four fronts. We seen when they rotated the team against Plymouth and they went out. We had poor showing. PSG over 2 games, they had basically everybody fit. It was their first choice back four, first choice goalkeeper, first choice midfield, and first choice front three, or arguably Allard and Gapco. And they had players on the bench that Nunez and Diaz and Diaz started both games actually, but they had players there to change the game. Jones come on, Elliott come on. But does it show you that the drop off from them first 11 to the next 3 or 4 probably isn't what's needed? They go on and dominate these competitions because they have been. We'll see next season how if it's fortune or if they just have the best training regime around. But if they had have picked up injuries, it's hard to see how they would have coped.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like I know a lot's been made of Liverpool lucky, but take Salah to that team. Where would we be sitting? We wouldn't be where we are now. I don't think we'd fall off a cliff but we'd still be comfortably top 4, 5, whatever it's going to be. But I just think I do agree that when you look at even PSG's bench, they're bringing on a young kid in Doué who looks at talent, Zaya Emery, who's one of the most highly thought of centre midfielders in the world. And no disrespect, Ramos. No disrespect, we're bringing on. I really like Harvey Elliott as a player, but Slot doesn't seem to fancy him. Jones is always in and out. Other than that, who's on the bench? Like
there's nobody really come on and change the game, whereas Doué come on and give PSG something a bit extra, don't
they? So it's not even in the summer, not even in terms of improving the first 11. We need to improve our squad as a whole, like a backup option.
How significant do you think this summer is? Because we spoke about Trent out of contract, Van Dijk's out of contract, Salah. I think it's unlikely unless we get news during this international break. I think it's unlikely you're going to get anything to the end of the season, news wise. But you were saying there about Konate's only got a year to go. They have to try and get him tied down. But I think at centre half and at fullback they're quite short. Robertson's getting older. Shemikas has been more or less a squad player. Probably, there's big links to Kirkes. We've spoke about Allard and Salah. None of the and Gapco possibly. The other ones aren't really reliable, either fitness wise or in front of goal. For over the length of a season, and I think in midfield as well. There's probably not enough there, and quality across the squad. So I mean, you're possibly looking at maybe you probably have to bring in 5 or 6 players.
I think that's what I've been reading anyway. Liverpool are at least going to bring in. I think I heard 3 to 5 at least. So I'd be happy. We need 5 in my opinion. Not 5 starters. I think we need a starting left back. We'll probably need a right back. Because Trent, I've given up on him signing his contract. I think that's done and dusted. And God knows if he'll ever play for Liverpool again. Depending on how his injury goes. But no, we definitely need a top striker, which is mad to say from where we're sitting. But if you put, I don't know, just pick Isak. If you put Isak in that team, we go through on Tuesday night. That's my opinion.
I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with Salah. I mean, he is the one that's really 50-50. I think Trent's going. I think Van Dijk will stay. The Salah one for me now, it's a question of he seems like a very, not a selfish footballer, but somebody who once they won all these awards and once they won, once they're the top goal scorer every season, very much like a Harry Kane type of player, although Salah has won a lot of trophies compared to Kane. But, I think they enjoy being the main man and they enjoy scoring all these goals and they enjoy being at the top of the assist, top of the golden boot. But it'd be interesting because Liverpool are going to win the league, but if we're chatting that they maybe 5 or 6 players short, from competing with on every front, you'd expect Man City to come back stronger. Arsenal, you would think, are unlikely to get as many injuries again as they have this year, and they'll possibly sign a striker. So it could become more difficult for Liverpool. They won the league again, and then this was the chance that they maybe needed. They needed City and Arsenal maybe to be off it a bit, and they have. You'd expect them to come back, but with the likes of PSG, Barcelona, Real Madrid, it's going to be very difficult. They won the Champions League as well, and I just wonder, will Salah start thinking maybe a European move could be something he would be open to.
I don't see it. I think if he leaves Liverpool, it'll be the Saudi. But the thing that frustrates me about the whole situation is if Salah came out tomorrow and says I don't want to sign a new contract, I'd be like, right, no bother. Thanks for your service. We move on. But he clearly wants to stay, which is the more frustrating part. And Van Dijk clearly wants to stay, which is the more frustrating part. So I don't know what we're doing behind the scenes. This should have been sorted out 18 months ago. Like, I don't know how we've let Trent get to this situation, especially because he's a local lad and he all you heard was I want to be captain of Liverpool. Like, how do we let this get to this situation? Is beyond me.
I wonder. Well, I mean, there isn't. It's unlikely, but there is a slight possibility that could have been his last game for Liverpool. He's got an injury. Lots says he expects him to be back before the end of the season, but it sounds like it's going to be a lengthy layoff. At least he probably may be back towards the end, or if he doesn't recover in time, I wonder what will that be his last game in a Liverpool shirt.
Well, you
But
seen
I think once Liverpool won the league one, which I think will be done possibly by the end of April at the latest, that's when all the talk about the contract news is going to come up, because they're now out of all the other cups. So effectively their season ends as soon as that league's won. It's really just about lifting the trophy in the last day, but the results become pretty irrelevant after they won the league. So it'll be interesting then how fans start to think, what's going to happen next season.
I wouldn't say I'm worried about next season. See if we get news. Just say we won the league and we get news to say Salah, Van Dijk are staying and Trent's going. I'd be like, right, happy days. Not happy days, but you know what I mean. That's what I expect to happen. But I heard apparently on speaking of the game ahead on Sunday, because Trent's injured, apparently Curtis Jones could be playing at right back, which scares
we have
me.
a problem there because Kwanzaa obviously has been asked to play there, and I'm not sure that's probably ideal.
No, I don't know what's wrong with Bradley. I know it's his hamstring, but I don't know how long he's going to be unavailable for.
Let's move on, because Arsenal and Villa cruise through to the quarterfinals. Arsenal were pretty much home and hosed after about 30 minutes for the first game, and Villa had a bit of a job to do, but they done it in style against Club Brugge. So, are you surprised that of the four teams that started in the Champions League, these are the two that are still on it from the English perspective?
You would be. Well, maybe not Arsenal. That's a bit unfair to them, but I would say I would have expected Man City and Liverpool to definitely be ahead of Villa in that. But then again, Villa, like, they got an easier route. They got Club Brugge.
What's your thoughts on this? I mean, I've seen people saying that, when it's done, it should be done. But I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't Liverpool's fault. It wasn't Liverpool were unlucky in the fact that they drew PSG. But I mean, PSG after 8 games were rated and the position that they were in. So there's always an opportunity that could happen. You know what I mean? Just because you finish first doesn't mean necessarily you're going to get an easy draw. It's based on the 8 games. You're playing a team that technically should be weaker, but in this case, I mean, PSG are one of the favourites. They go on and win this competition, whereas Villa drew Club Brugge after finishing 8th. And I've also seen people saying as well that, if you're, the higher up you finish, if you're playing a team that finished lower than you, you should get to play at home second and not first. That's what Arsenal fans were saying in the sense that they finished higher than Madrid, but have to go to Madrid in the second leg. But look, I mean, I'm not all for that. I just think it's an open draw. Just go for it, because at the end of the day, you only have to beat good teams to win this competition regardless.
No, I agree. Yeah. I think that's just fans looking for excuses. Like, did I expect us to finish first and end up playing PSG? No, but as you say, that's the look of it. But I wonder, see, if obviously we're going to win the league, so does that theoretically mean we'll get an easier 8 games next year?
Makes no difference.
I thought it didn't, but I thought you got it easier.
You play now 2 teams from every pot, so it doesn't matter really what pot you're on.
But Sir Man City got a relatively easy round. And
that's just going on from season to season. Teams have surprised teams this year, and we see that every year. Owen, let's move on. There was a lot of controversy in the Madrid derby. It went to penalties. Of course, Vinicius must have penalty in normal time. They send Madrid through. It went to penalties, and Julian Alvarez stepped up and appeared to score. And then there was this VAR check, and then we were told it had a standing foot, and of course, a double touch means it cannot stand. Well, I mean, what did you think of? Before I ask you about the rule, what did you think of the actual decision itself? Because I mean, it didn't look that conclusive to me.
No, I watched it. I've watched it since, like a couple of times, and you can't definitively say that he's touched it with both feet. So in that case, the goal should stand. Now this is what annoys me. If a goalkeeper goes off his line, it gets retaken.
Yeah.
So should
Yeah,
it
well, I
not
think
be?
UEFA and FIFA look on this rule, so I wouldn't be surprised if it changes because they happen on such a costly time. It makes big headlines. I remember
Yeah,
Mitrovic did it for Fulham in the Premier League in a game against Newcastle. It's the only other time I can remember it happening
but
recently.
surely they have to take the occasion, and they
Yeah.
surely they have to, like, that's a big game. If that counts, Atletico, in my opinion, go through. Although I will pat myself in the back. I did say it would go to penalties.
Yeah,
They
it
all
was a
right.
great game. But of
Uh,
course, Madrid, they always find a way and they're dangerous. So,
yes.
could
They
be,
annoy they
how do you,
annoy me.
we'll actually chat about the draw in a minute, but, Arsenal up next to be interesting. Harry Kane has been labelled a man that doesn't turn up in big games. Well, he put 3 goals past Leverkusen in a 5-0 rout over the 2 games. And he is now being talked about as a potential Ballon d'Or winner. And he's having another great season in Germany, scoring a lot of goals again. And Bayern have an added incentive in the fact that they host the final if they get there. Although that
Yeah,
didn't work for them when they hosted Chelsea all those years ago, but they would have that opportunity again. Are they a dangerous team, Bayern, in this Champions League? Because people seen the Leverkusen draw. They haven't had a good recent record against Leverkusen, but they beat them quite convincingly over the 2 games, and it was a much more improved Bayern Munich display than we've seen against Celtic.
No, Bayern are always dangerous in the Champions League, regardless. But I think, as you say, the added incentive of it being pretty much, well, it is a home tie if they get to the final. Which, spoiler for later on, I don't think they will. But it's but for Harry Kane, he's just a man on fire at the minute. And if Bayern were, they're probably going to win the Bundesliga. I'm not sure how that's looking. I haven't really. I know they're top, but I don't know
Yeah,
by.
well, if he's the top goal scorer in Germany and they won that, and he's the top goal scorer, he's actually one. I think he's one behind Rafinha at the moment. But if they go on, they won that, and he's top goal scorer, and they won the final. There's no international tournament this year, so there's every chance he would have an opportunity to win it.
It's going to be interesting to see who wins the Ballon d'Or this year.
Do you think is that Salah's chance gone? The fact that Liverpool are out of the Champions League?
Probably, which I don't agree with, but that's how it normally. Because is the Ballon d'Or not who had the best individual season? It's like it's meant to be an individual. That's meant to be not the team. But in my opinion, I don't really agree with individual awards like that because it's a team sport. But here we are. But I think if I was to say now, I would say it's down to Rafinha or Kane or Dembele if PSG won the Champions League.
Let's look at this quarterfinals, Rowan. Arsenal take on Real Madrid. These are the first legs. This is how they'll go, in this order.
Yep.
With Arsenal being at home to Madrid, PSG being at home to Villa, Bayern Munich being home to Inter Milan, and Barcelona against Dortmund. And then a week later, of course, they will play the reverse games. We'll just start in order here. Arsenal, Madrid, Owen. Arsenal have been struggling with injuries, but they found a way to get there. There's a talk that Saka could be back, and that would make a big difference. But it's going to be a fresh Saka or a match fit Saka. We've seen players come back before. I mean, they've seen Odegaard come back, and he's not come back the same player from his injury. How do you see this tie going? Because Madrid haven't been amazing, but they always tend to find a way to get through, even when they're not at their best.
And that's why I'll always back them in the Champions League. Unless it's against Liverpool, then my biasness will come on. But if they're playing anyone else other than us, I have to back Real Madrid because it's their competition. And for me, after what happened the other night, surely their name's written on that trophy. That's just madness.
They do seem to get a lot of luck in this Champions League. They always seem to find ways to fall for them.
And they're the ones crying about a Super League too.
And you fancy Madrid to go through over the 2 games?
I do, yeah.
Madrid would then play the winners of the tie between PSG and Aston Villa. PSG are at home first. Is that a danger for Villa? I know people say you'd rather be at home second, but I think in this case, because of the way PSG are playing, they're scoring so many goals, and they were pretty wistful against Liverpool. But you would think they're not going to be that wistful again. Is there a risk that PSG could blow Villa away in the first game, and the second game is pretty irrelevant?
Oh, if they play the way they did in the first leg against Villa, Villa will be out of it. There'll be no. I would just wave the white flag
The
for
only
the
thing that
second leg.
Villa have is they probably have as good as a goalkeeper in Martinez. If he's fit, we've seen him perform in massive games and make big saves. So you would think that he's going to have to be a bit like Alisson if they're going to get through in this tie.
The fact that you just said Martinez is as good as Allison makes me want to throw up. But anyway,
You don't think so?
no, I think he's vastly overrated. Vastly overrated.
Well, I mean, I think he's up there with the best around.
I don't know how he's won. He's a good keeper, but I don't know how he's won the best keeper 2 years in a row.
So you fancy PSG over the two games?
You would think so.
Bayern Munich, Inter Milan. I think this is probably the tightest tie. I think a lot of people will be split on this one. I personally think Inter Milan will do them. I think they'll make it very difficult for them. They'll sit back in a deep block, and Bayern will struggle to break them down. And I think Inter Milan will end up scoring. I think they don't see many goals in this tie, to be honest.
No,
I think Inter Milan could possibly hold them to a 0-0.
Wasn't
and then
this
maybe 1-0 in San Siro, but
if I remember right, isn't this a repeat of the 2010 final?
yeah.
Mourinho. Inter won that 3-0, I think, didn't they?
2-0. Diego Milito scored 2 goals, if I remember. I think that might have been at the Bernabeu.
That's a throwback. But no, I agree with you. I think Inter will get through. I think it'll be one of them ones. It'll go to extra time or penalties again, but I think Inter will get through.
Yeah, and Barcelona against Dortmund. Barcelona will be seen as big favourites here.
I think this is, other than the PSG Villa tie, I think this is the most banker of them all, because Dortmund are not pulling up any trees in the Bundesliga by all accounts.
They did get to the final last year, though. Dortmund, they seem to have been very good in
They
Europe.
did, but I think they were a lot better last year than they were this year.
That would leave us PSG against Real Madrid and Barcelona against Inter Milan. How would you see them two ties go?
Oh, I would say, that's tough. I'll go Real Madrid and Barca.
Real Madrid Barca final.
And then
I think PSG will probably out football Madrid, but it's where they'll have the noise to get past them. But I think either way, if Barcelona were to overcome Inter Milan, you'd have a serious final, whether it's PSG, Barcelona, or Real Madrid, Barcelona.
And if it is Real Madrid, Barcelona, I would want Barcelona to win it, because I've always had a soft spot for Barcelona. I don't know.
Although Inter Milan would make it difficult for Barcelona too. There's no guarantee that and they've got to the final before Inter Milan recently. Of course, Man City beat them. So some big ties there. Who are you going with as your favourites then for the Champions League?
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid, they beat Barcelona in the final, and you're saying?
Yep.
Yep. I think the winner of the PSG Madrid tie is only one if they meet in the semi-final. I think the winner.
I would like it to be, if I had a choice of team to win it would either be Barca or PSG, because I think they play great football.
Yeah. Let's look at last night's results. So in the Europa League, Bruno Fernandes again, big night, and he delivered one. He's in real form at the moment. I know he scored 2 penalties, but he did score a third goal for a hat-trick, and he's been in great form recently, scoring free kicks as well. So, I think a lot of people thought this would be a very close tie, one each in the first game. I thought United really should have won that first game with the chances they had. And I have to say, last night they dispatched Real Sociedad. So, Sociedad were not. I expected them to be a lot better than what they showed.
Yes, but I think they're sitting. Obviously, I'm not. I think they're sitting 10th in La Liga or something. I know United aren't pulling up any trees in the league, but it shows you that the mid table in Spain isn't great. And I watched Zubamendi closely, because he's going to be coming to the Prem next season by all accounts, and he doesn't have the greatest of games. But no, I expected United to get through not as comfortable as they did. I thought it'd be a lot tighter, as you say. But who do they play now? Leon, is it the next round? And you would expect them to get past Leon. But then again, you can't underestimate these French teams, as I've found out. But I do think the penalties were harsh, especially
Yeah.
especially the second one. I think the all penalty. I
Well, there
think
was four. Was there four penalties? No, three penalties in that game last
there
night.
was Sociedad got the first one, which again I thought was kind of harsh, and then the two United ones were harsh, in my opinion. The second United penalty I don't think was, because your man he just stopped it. He didn't go on to make a tackle. He just stopped.
Spurs. It was a lot sweatier in North London. Spurs had to dig deep to get past AZ Alkmaar. 1-0 down from the first game, but did 1-3-1 last night to go through 3-2 in aggregate. And the relief in the Spurs fan base, the relief for Ange Postecoglou. And I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard work, and it's only the quarterfinal. I mean, this has been like pulling teeth to get this far. But there is still some Spurs fans that are dreaming that, sometimes you can just script through, and your name, not your name's on it, but it doesn't really matter how you're getting through. Sometimes in these cup competitions, you're through, and that's all that matters. And Spurs, I thought, were half decent for the first 20 minutes of the second half, but it wasn't a great performance. There was a lot of errors from both teams in the games, and it was Spurs who took advantage of them. And if I'm being honest, if I look at the Frankfurt team that destroyed Ajax, Ajax are supposed to be a lot stronger than AZ Alkmaar, and Spurs made really heavy weather of the three games this season against AZ Alkmaar. The first game, to be fair, in the league phase, you could argue it was a rotated team. But in these two games, they've had more or less their full strength. That are the players they could have picked from that aren't injured available. And they did have Van de Ven back last night, who I have to say made a big difference. And only when he went off, Spurs looked shaky at the back. When he was on for those first 60 minutes, they looked pretty much imperious compared to the AZ Alkmaar team. Once he went off, it became a lot more difficult for Spurs to be secure at the back. But I suppose that's the biggest plus on getting through, and that Mickey Van de Ven's back.
And as but it's going to be very interesting what you do with him, because these play him in the league games when they don't really matter, or but then these have to give him match fitness as well, so it'll be very interesting.
I would imagine they'd be doing 60 minutes in games and coming off.
But no one will pull a hamstring or something.
I'll be honest with you, we're playing Fulham away on Sunday, and it's not to say that I don't care, but it really has no bearing on the season at all. I mean, we could have won that game 4-0, and it wouldn't change anything really in the league. And
does he go out and just play like, I don't know, Dane Scarlett and all them boys?
Well, no, I don't think he can completely sacrifice. He has to at least make an intent, because some of these players have only come back from injury, so they need game time as well.
Yeah,
there is no game now for nearly 3 weeks, because the weekend we come back, there's obviously FA Cup, which we're not on, so we don't play. We play Chelsea, I think, it's actually a Thursday night. We're playing the last. There's matches Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're playing on the Thursday night, so quite a long break after Sunday.
We're playing Everton when on the 6th or the 7th.
Yeah, I think there's a 19-day break for Spurs in terms of, so again, we need to get players up to speed, and then I think we've put Southampton, and then we'll have Frankfurt. So the Frankfurt one will take priority. But you'd like to think they'll go strong against Chelsea and rotate everybody against Southampton.
You would have to, I know we struggled a bit last week against Southampton, but I could play against Southampton and still keep a clean sheet or do something. But no, as you say, he can't fully disrespect the league, because he's want to finish as high as possible. But I tell you what, I'm not going to give away, but I don't think any English team is going to. Well, Chelsea probably.
I'll come on to that. Because it's something I want to ask you about as well. But finally, Owen, Rangers. I mean, for the third night in a row, the drama continued in the penalty shootouts. It was an hour late night of watching football. 11 o'clock really before everything was wrapped up. And I have to say, I feared for Rangers when it went to penalties. But they come out the other end of it, and Mourinho had to suck it up. And believe, crazy as it is, for how poor they've been in Scotland, Rangers are in the quarterfinals of the Europa League. And you have to say, they do seem to save their best performances for Europe. And although they weren't great last night, they probably deserve to go through because of what they did in Fenerbahce in the first game. and they now have Atletico Bilbao. So I mean, look at this draw one, and this is the way it's looking. Spurs take on Frankfurt. Bodo Glimt take on Lazio. Atletico Bilbao take on Rangers, and Leon take on Man United. Interestingly, out of the top 8 teams that qualified, automatically for the next round, 7 of them are still on it. So they've only lost one team. So it pretty much meant that then playoffs in the Europa League were pretty much irrelevant, because I think in the Champions League there's a lot more quality, and I think we've seen in this competition there's lesser quality as you go down the standings, and I think it showed that probably the strongest teams are left on it now. Bodo Glimt and Olympiacos were the 2 teams. I think the one that just finished. I think one finished 6th and or 7th, and the other one finished 9th or 10th. So they ended up playing each other. So something like that. So we had nearly everyone through: Spurs, Lazio, Bilbao, Rangers, Leon, Man United, and Frankfurt all finished in that top 8. So how do you see this draw one?
You're not going to be happy anyway, but I'm going to say Frankfurt go through, Lazio go through, Bilbao go through, and United go through.
Yeah, I actually spoke to somebody during the week there, and I says that I think this European campaign from English clubs is going to probably show you that the Premier League's been pretty weak this year. I don't think we're going to have any English teams in the semi-final of these competitions. Chelsea, as you say, are on a different scale.
Leon's going to be United.
Yeah, I think Frankfurt will knock Spurs out. I think Lazio will be comfortable. Bilbao will be comfortable, and Leon will get past United. I think Leon, United, Spurs, Frankfurt are the 2 games that'll be a lot tighter. I think Lazio and Bilbao will probably cruise through. And I think it'll probably be a Lazio Bilbao final, to be honest. I think Lazio will then take out Frankfurt, and Bilbao will take out Leon.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be pretty damning if we didn't have an English team in the league, in the Europa League semi-final or the Champions League semi-final. I think the rest of Europe this year is stronger, and I think it's shown in these competitions that whilst we do have some teams through, in any other year you'd be thinking United and Spurs have decent draws here, but I think because they've been so poor this year, I think Aston Villa getting to a quarter-final and not even really teams they're not even been given a chance against the French team. Everyone's expecting PSG to rout them. And Arsenal, Madrid, as you say, you do expect it to be tighter, but everyone does fancy Real Madrid. So it does suggest that Europe's a lot stronger than the Premier League this year.
And I'm not going to sit here. The only league I would watch other than the Premier League would be Serie A, because that is on TNT, and that is a very exciting league. Like, you look at that league, I think who's top at the minute? Inter Milan, but there's only like 3 points between 1st and 6th or something. So
Inter Milan, Napoli, and Atlanta, there's about 2 or 3 points between the 3 of them in there.
So I watched that a bit, but I think the rest of Europe has been very good, and a lot of people are saying the Premier League is weaker, which you're saying it is because of the showing in Europe. But it was sort of the same last year. Like, did we have anyone in the same?
I think you have to go back a long time, but they see the I can't remember, but a French team, dominant and the best team in England like that for over 2 games, really. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen that. I think the re-emergence of Barcelona, they've come back to the party. That's made Spain a lot stronger, because you've got Atletico Madrid there and Real Madrid there, plus now Barcelona coming back to somewhere near their best. We've talked about the Italian league there, but getting stronger with the likes of Atalanta coming out of places. Napoli have been stronger recently. Juventus have fallen off, but Inter Milan have become very consistent. Yeah. And we've seen about Germany. Leverkusen have now, made it. It used to be a 2-horse race in Germany. Now there's a 3rd horse. And then we've seen PSG doing pretty well. I think Lille are a good side in France as well. So there's definitely better teams emerging around Europe. And I wonder, these things can flop around. But if you think back to the 2019, and you'll remember this well, Liverpool beat Spurs in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Chelsea also beat Liverpool or Arsenal in the Europa League final.
Yeah.
I don't think we're as strong. And it isn't just because the English teams have got weaker. I think the European teams have got stronger as well.
No, I agree. Yeah. Even if you look at just pick out Lazio there or Bilbao, I think they would give City and Liverpool games and Arsenal games like I generally do believe it, but because like you think about it, you seen the Italian league for years was like the Bundesliga, Juventus. But as you say, they've fallen off. Under Milan have come up more consistently. AC Milan won the league a few years ago. Napoli won their league a few years ago. So the rest of Europe is definitely getting stronger. And if the English teams want to get back to dominant in Europe, because I'm going to discount the Conference League, because if Chelsea don't win that, they should just be liquidated. Um, but it's going to take a while for the Premier League to dominate Europe again, in my opinion.
Yeah. Owen, how do you see one in the Europa League again?
I'm going to go with Lazio.
Lazio, they beat Bilbao in Bilbao.
Uh,
Interesting. And let's move on. They look at this weekend's action. Of course, the League Cup final takes centre stage. But a big blow for Liverpool, Owen, and the Trent will not be available. Kanate is going to have a fitness examination as well.
he's fit.
Well, he did say he would train today, but
Yeah.
you just don't know, do you? Really?
I don't think Kanate's injured. I think it was just tiredness.
How big a blow would it be if they were both out?
Very big, because we'd have to play someone at centre back who's not a centre back, or someone at right back who's not a right back. So it'll be a big blow. But Newcastle have big players missing too, so it's gonna be.
I think from a creative point of view, they'll miss Trent, in this game. And I think the fact that Gordon was out, there was less danger for Trent defensively than there would be. So I think that's a big blow. Barnes, but he's not at the level of a Gordon, I don't think.
True. But no, I definitely. It is a big blow when you lose Trent in these games, especially because Wembley's such a big pitch, so it would suit a player like him. But it'll be interesting to see. If you're asking me, I'm just saying Kanate's fit. But for me, at right back, I would probably put Curtis Jones, just to give you a bit of creativity from there. But he'll probably go with Kwanzaa.
I think another thing that's gone on the right, I think Isak and Gordon have an unbelievable partnership. So the fact that Gordon isn't in, I think Isak struggles a wee bit without him. They have such a good relationship. So, of course, Liverpool fans will be looking at the Isak Van Dijk battle. But I think without Gordon, it does help Liverpool.
Aye, maybe Gordon didn't want to play against his future employers in a big final. But no, when Isak and Gordon are on song together and playing well together, like they're a far more potent team in front of goal. And it's not even that Isak's quick, but Gordon's electric quick as well, so he can beat a man for fun. So I think it does make it a more in our favor that Isak doesn't have Gordon as well, but you can never write Isak off, especially in the form that he's in, and that's why so many clubs are interested in signing him, Liverpool being one of them. But it'll be interesting to see if he does leave Newcastle this summer. But I do agree that he is less effective without Gordon there, because he doesn't have that same understanding as he does with Gordon that he would have with Barnes.
I think the midfield battle is going to be fascinating, because I think Newcastle's midfield is quite powerful and dynamic. It's probably going to be Tonali, Joelinton, and Bruno up against Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, and McAllister. I mean, that's a fascinating battle, isn't it?
Like we if you remember back a few weeks ago to the game at Anfield, we dominated the midfield. But I think it was, I don't know who their midfield was. I think it was Tonali, Bruno, and
Joelinton was injured, wasn't he?
I can't remember who. I think it was it Longstaff?
Isak was injured in that game too. I think Newcastle are one of those teams that can't cope with big injuries. I think they need everybody fit and firing. I think Lewis Hall's a big loss too, because if it's going to be Dan Burn out there, I think Salah's going to enjoy that.
No, I think he'll play. I think he'll play Livramento at left back and Trippier at right back.
Interesting, but we'll see. I mean, do you think that midfield battle will be key? I mean, it's a big pitch at Wembley. Newcastle's record at Anfield is pretty dreadful anyway, so I think it's going to be a much closer game than it was at Anfield, even though it was 2-0 to Liverpool. It was an absolute rout in terms of, Liverpool were dominant the game from start to finish.
No, I agree. And I think the fact that we went the distance too on Tuesday, I don't think it'll play in that big, because we've had a few days to recover. But I do agree. I don't think there'll be many goals in this. I wouldn't be surprised if we see extra time again. But as you know me on here, I'm never going to back against. I'm never going to back against the Liverpool victory. So I'm going to stick with that come Sunday.
I mean, Newcastle haven't won anything for I think it's over 50 years. Owen. Is it a bigger game for them than it is for Liverpool? I mean, Liverpool, pretty much have two hands on the title. They're going to win that anyway, unless they really, really collapse, which I don't think is even possible. But do you think Newcastle fans go on to Sunday with an extra bounce than Liverpool fans do, or do you think it's a cup final? Doesn't matter what your situation is. Everybody wants they win it just as much.
No, it's a cup final, and don't forget as well, it's our trophy at the minute. So I don't care if it's the League Cup, if it's a game of tiddlywinks, I want to win it. So I'm hoping we go and win it. And if Newcastle haven't won a trophy in 50 years, that's on them. That's how I look at it.
Let's fast forward to May, and Liverpool are lifting the Premier League title, but there's nothing else with it. They lose the final on Sunday. That would mean. Do you think Liverpool fans will still be happy with that? Will they, or will they feel it as a missed opportunity that they didn't go on? They won more trophies this season with our clubs being off it.
No, I'd still be buzzing because nobody, like at the start of the season, I know Kieran says, "Well, Liverpool won the league every year," but he says that every single year. But I think I had us third. Was it?
Yep.
I had us third. I seen some people online putting a sixth, seventh. I seen some boys saying Slot will be sacked by Christmas. So it's for me every year I want to win the league. So no matter if we won on Sunday or not, I still think for a man in his first season who hasn't signed anyone, well he has, but he hasn't. He hasn't signed. It's not his team. I think the real examination of Slot will come next season. But as for now, if we win the Premier League and nothing else, I'll not be crying come May. Well, we'll be crying come May, but it won't be for bad reasons.
And let's get into the predictions for this weekend, and we'll do the League Cup final as well in there. But let's start with Everton against West Ham. No 12:30 game on Saturday, so they have to wait until 3 o'clock for the action to get underway. I wonder what West Ham fans be looking at this David Moyes situation and going, maybe we should have stuck with Moyes.
I don't know because I think his bubble will burst at Everton too eventually.
Do you think it probably just ran its course at West Ham?
Aye, and it's not going great for Potter at West Ham either. At the minute, West Ham are a weird club. Like I think at the start of the season, I had them challenging for Europe. I think I fell into the trap of they were signing all these players, and some of them looked good, but out of any of their signings this season, has any of them been great?
Yeah, they've obviously lost Falkirk to a bad injury, Antonio to a bad injury. Bowen was out with a broken ankle. I know there's a lot of talk about Paqueta could be getting a lifetime ban, so they probably feel that they've had significant injuries. The Lopetegui experiment didn't work, but I think we'll see a better West Ham next season.
I mean, the Antonio injury, you can't plan for that. Like that's just horrific. And it was good. Just on West Ham, it was good to see him on Monday night walking out the pitch and getting a good reception from everyone. It's always good to see. No matter who you support, you don't want to see anyone get hurt like that. But in terms of David Moyes, I think you're right. They just ran its course at West Ham, and I think both clubs are happier in where they are. But as for this game, it's not the most exciting of Premier League weekends, is it? But I'm gonna go 2-1 Everton.
So Everton they continue one. I'm actually going for a 1-1 draw.
Well,
Ipswich take on Nottingham Forest. A massive opportunity for Forest. They keep plugging away for this top 4, top 5. Now, actually, from last night, it looks pretty much guaranteed that England will get another spot. There's only one team that can catch them. And it's top 2 spots. England, Spain, Italy. Italy are the only team that can catch England now. So it looks pretty much guaranteed. I think they're only 1 or 2 more ones away in Europe from doing it. But, of course, with the results that we predicted, maybe it wouldn't. But I think it is very unlikely that they're going to be caught.
Do you think... So if we get the 5th spot, do we get that every year? Or does it just change?
No, it goes on season by season.
All right. But it'll be good to see Forest in the Champions League. They're a big club. And that's what I like about the league. Like the past few seasons, we've seen Villa back in the Champions League. We're going to see Forest back in some sort of Europe.
Newcastle.
Newcastle were in the year before, and then I think you have teams like I think Bournemouth have sort of fell off a bit, but they still have a chance to get in Conference League. Brighton still have a chance to get in Europa League, so there's a lot to play for them middling teams. But that's what I mean. It's weird this season because the relegation battle's done, the title's done. Well, fingers crossed.
All before the international break. Great opportunity for Forest. I think Ipswich are really struggling.
I'm gonna go 2-0 Forest.
I'm going to go in our classic 1-0 Forest 1. Probably the best game at 3 o'clock is Man City Brighton. This is your Premier Sports exclusive to the Ireland game. Man City.
Or if you're me, it's your flight to America randomly.
A VPN stream. Man City take on Brighton. Big clash just in terms of the risk for the Champions League. Brighton on an unbelievable run. I think it's 6-1 in the bounce.
Yeah.
Man City, big defeat to Forest last week. So this is a massive game for both teams. Owen?
It is. I'm gonna go for a 2-2 draw. No.
City to get back, they won away. 3-1 Man City. Southampton and Wolves. I think a Wolves won here pretty much sends Leicester and Ipswich down along with Southampton. I think Southampton have pretty much given up, and I think Ipswich and Leicester basically once the international break's over now, I think it's done for them if Wolves won this game and they don't get a result this weekend.
The only thing I'm looking forward to in this relegation battle, do you think Southampton will officially become the worst Premier League team?
Well, I don't know. They might get a one somewhere, I suppose.
I don't know their fixtures, but
I don't think they're going to get 3 draws, so I think they're going to have to get 1 somewhere.
I don't think it'll be here. I know Cunha's is he injured or suspended? He's one of the two.
Suspended.
Many games did he get? I didn't even.
I think he got 3 games, so I think it's maybe there's one more after this possibly. But Wolves are 6 points ahead of the drop, and if they won this, likely they'll be 9 points clear. So that would be it for me.
I agree. I'm gonna go 2-0 Wolves.
2-1 Wolves for me. The 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. Bournemouth against Brentford, an exciting tie in terms of the Europeanness. Brentford not without a chance of maybe finishing on one of those lower spots for a Conference League place. Bournemouth only won 1 on 5, but you could probably argue they've been unlucky not to get more points in recent games. I thought they were the better team against Spurs. They were the better team against Brighton, and they only took 1 point from those 2 games. So realistically, they need to win this game. Bournemouth. How do you see it going?
I'm going to go 2-1 Bournemouth.
I'm going to go 3-1 Bournemouth. Moving on to Sunday, of course, before the Premier League kicks off at 1:30, we have the Old Firm at 12:30 as well. So an action-packed Sunday for your bank holiday weekend. But Arsenal take on Chelsea at 1:30. Arsenal could close the gap to 12 points. This is their game in hand, effectively, over Liverpool. But if Chelsea could win this, it would really drag Arsenal into the Champions League spots. Possibility of having to go into a battle. And Arsenal won would really take the pressure off them, and they could really focus on the Champions League. So big game, but Chelsea here were awful last night, and there is rumblings that the fans aren't happy now with Maresca. Palmer's out of form. Even though Arsenal are struggling with injuries, all signs point to Arsenal winning this.
I agree. I'm going to go 3-1 Arsenal.
I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal. At the same time, Fulham take on Spurs and our London derby. Spurs, of course, Spurs, of course, had a huge one in that Europa League tie to get through. Their season hinges on that. The Premier League at the moment is going to be taking second priority. Fulham pushing for Europe, but very inconsistent. The one. As the danger for Fulham here, they come into this game as favourites. They've been a better team than Spurs this season, and the fact that Spurs played on Thursday, everyone's expecting Fulham to be fresher and go and win. And we've seen when they've had these sort of favourites tag, they've struggled. They live up to it.
Yeah, and I think they will again. I don't think they'll be a winner though. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
I don't know. I think Spurs will be. I'll be way off it. I just can't see them putting together a good performance at Fulham. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 Fulham 1. Liverpool take on Newcastle in the Carabao Cup final at 4:30. We talked about it earlier. When you sound pretty confident. So how do you see it going?
2-1 the Liverpool.
I agree. 2-1 Liverpool as well. And there is a 7 o'clock kickoff on Sunday night as well.
Oh,
Leicester take on Man United. So football all day, really, from sort of 12:30 to half 9 or 9 o'clock.
and then Derry the morning night too.
And then Derry's fans flag on the morning, of course. But Leicester could be in a really, really grim situation coming this game kicking off. And I think their fit's gone already, and I think United will get a 1 here.
So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go 2-0 United.
I'm gonna go 1-0 Man United. Owen, that is us previewed for the weekend. It was great to have you on. Of course, I'll see you on Sunday for the big game. Liverpool taking on Newcastle at 4:30. An action-packed weekend. Remember to enjoy the bank holiday, enjoy the St. Patrick's Day celebrations, and stay safe and responsible. Owen, it's been great again, and I'm sure we'll see you pretty soon back on the podcast after the international break. I will be doing a show during the international break with Stefan, of course, Bulgarian. He's from Bulgaria, and Bulgaria take on Ireland in the Nations League playoff. So we'll do a wee bit of stuff around Bulgaria and Ireland, and also look ahead to the final run of the Premier League. What's up?
How do you see the Ireland Bulgaria?
Totally honest, we could not tell you. But I'll let Stefan try and explain it.
No, I international football I'd rather watch.
Yeah, unless it's the World Cup or the Euros, it's just not. Just not the same. But if you're new around here, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, and we'll see you very, very soon. Enjoy the weekend.
Cheers.